So when cash leaves the debt market, 10-year yield rises in a controlled fashion right now, and it looks for places to go, stock market. But when it rises in an uncontrolled fashion, it's going to get dumped. Everything is going to get dumped at the same time. Cash is going to start to move big time, and that's when we get the inflationary period, and it has the potential to be really incredible. And it's going to be rapid too. People must be ready for it because it's going to happen at a time that they choose. We have no say-so in anything anymore, government and anything. It's all them. It's all by design. The shadow government is the central banks. They dictate the rules. They buy our politicians. They're all paid off. We're in a full-blown debt crisis right now. How do we know that? Because the Fed's in here buying it all. Printed. We heard from the Fed again. They're prepared to buy even more. But no one bats an eye. No one says, they're going to buy more. How are they going to do that? Where are they getting the cash from? We need to understand what's happening here. Then I started to see what's going on with the TAR program and the Wall Street bailouts. It's like, oh, no. This is much bigger. And what's coming down the pike is going to end up being much bigger. And that's what I've been trying to warn people about. The 2008 event this died. This whole financial system died in 2008. It's been on life support since that time. So you can go right to the Federal Reserve's website and look at their balance sheet. And you can see over the past X amount of months, it's gone parabolic. It's literally gone straight up. And as long as that mechanism keeps going, and not only does it have to keep on going, I think something else that people need to know is debt acquisition and debt issuance must increase exponentially. It can't just stay static like on a line. It's got to literally go up on a hockey stick. And that's right now we're in that hockey stick phase. So you have to realize this hockey stick phase can't really continue. I mean, it could continue for a while, and I think it's going to, until they're done. And I don't know when that's going to be, but we need to be aware, not afraid, but be aware that it's coming. This is why people like you and me have been saying, own gold, own silver, own platinum, own palladium, hard assets that you can hold in your hand, because at least from a financial standpoint, we can get ourselves in the right spot.
This is Dunnigan Kaiser, founder of Liberty and Finance. I'm now a licensed gold and silver dealer with Miles Franklin. Call me directly for the physical gold and silver that you need at the best price with personalized, private service from one of the oldest and best respected companies in the business. 30 years strong, A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, 0 complaints, licensed and bonded, insured delivery or vault storage or IRAs, excellent prices, privacy and confidentiality, pay by check, money order, ACH or wire, satisfaction guaranteed. Call me directly at 419-819-9209 or my associate at 310-562-6400 or email us at kaiser@milesfranklin.com. Welcome back to Liberty and Finance. We have a returning guest we can't get very often, but when we do, we're glad to have him. This is Gregory Mannarino. He's also known as the Robin Hood of Wall Street. He joins us this Monday, January 11th, 2020. Greg, thanks for coming back on.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
We often get dozens of questions ahead of each guest that we have on here. With your case, we have over 100 questions. There's no way in heck we're going to get to scratch the surface of this list. But okay. I've got to hand it to you for generating both through your prolific publishing that you do, as well as the twice daily updates and market coaching and everything. You've generated quite a following. And that's something that means you're reaching out and helping a lot of people, and that's why you're there, and that's why I'm here. So that's my hat's off to you on that.
That's what it's all about to me, man. Like shows like yours are important. You got to get more people together to understand what's going on. I mean, so many people have been duped to the highest order. They can't see anything. They don't understand it. It's meant the situation we're in is meant to keep them confused, angry, off balance, not able to think. It's not an easy thing to do in this environment. We've had a couple of years of fakery, propaganda, misinformation, look here, don't look here. It's very hard for people. And as you can see, it's manifesting itself in a pretty ugly way. But look, I think this is a cycle. We're going to get through it. I really do. Do I think it's going to get worse? Yeah, I do. I think it's going to get worse. But you and I have been warning about it. It's not like we haven't been trying. We have been trying.
Yeah, that's right, because some of the things that we've been talking about for years sounded harebrained or sounded fringy or something when we first started bringing them up. And now it's like, well, yeah, it's not new after all. And that's kind of the progression that seems to happen when you're the one who's kind of like on the early vanguard calling out, hey, this is really a problem. Here's why it's a problem. Here's what it looks like. Here's what you're not being told about it. And at first you sound like you're off base when you keep talking that way. And pretty soon people start seeing that the cards start being played, and then it's in fact exactly the way things were leading. I guess we might as well just plunge right on in, unless you wanted to comment on that before.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, what it comes down to is some people, for whatever reason it may be, are maybe able to see a little further down the road than the next person is. For example, myself, like I immerse myself in the market, and the market to me is a language. By understanding what the market is doing, I can make unbelievably accurate predictions about what's going to happen. The market tells me things. I mean, I'm not like hearing voices or anything, but I'm able to look at the market and say, okay, what are you trying to tell me? It took many, many years for me to reach this kind of ability. But again, if you study something relentlessly, you pick up things even, I don't know, subconsciously. And sometimes you can't describe it. I even, like, for example, I said in a recent video, I really surprise myself sometimes. I don't see it, but I know it's kind of in here. It's like intuition or something. Kind of like, yeah.
Well, trusting your gut. I mean, that's the other thing is you get that gut feeling. You have that sense of knowing it's like, we've been here before. I've seen this body language before. That just happened to me today. I was going on to Yahoo to get to an email account so that I could reply to someone. And the first screen that comes up is the Yahoo News page. Boom, there it is. And I thought, I'm just going to look at this with new eyes. And I looked at the 8 or 9 stories that were plastered all up in the front. I thought, if I had never seen this before, but if I had just an eye of understanding psychology, understanding messaging, I would say, what is the creator of this view trying to get across to me? Oh, I see. Bad guy, good guy, this, that. Just, I don't even know if I have to look at the characters involved. You can just see the story that's being presented to you. And that's what you're being shown. And anyway, just you can look at the world with the eyes of experience, I think, the eyes of perspective, and you start to see things, how they're being presented as, is part of the message.
Absolutely, right from the get-go. It's an incredible thing, but I think we're getting through. I really do. We can't get through to everybody, and you and I have known this for years. But if we can get through to a few people, we've accomplished something. And that's, to me, again, what this is all about. Trying to, bring some light onto things that maybe aren't so obvious to some. And then all of a sudden they get an epiphany and they go, whoa, now I see it. I love that. I love when people write to me and they're like, Greg, I've seen you before. I used to follow you. Then I stopped because I thought you were crazy. And now all of a sudden I saw the truth. And here I am. I'm back and I've had an epiphany. You were absolutely right. I love that. Sometimes it takes a while for people to get it. And I understand that. It's like they've been so programmed and brainwashed into whatever this thing is that we're in. But I think we can some people can't be woken up. It's an impossibility. They're just done. It's fear or whatever it might be. But I don't know what the percentage is. It's not that high, honestly, but some people can get it if they just try to open their mind a little bit and understand what they're hearing and open their eyes to what they're seeing. How many times you open up Yahoo or anything else and they flash this stuff at you. They want you to believe it at face value. And a lot of people do. They don't sit back and say, hold on a minute. What is the real message here? What are they trying to say? What's lying behind this? And anyway, that's the truth.
One anecdote of encouragement I have with the opportunity that I get to talk to clients who are calling about precious metals is more often I hear people say, I've been watching you back since you were reluctant preppers, and I've watched you all these years, and I've seen you go through these changes and everything, and my family never used to believe me. They'd always say, oh, you're crazy, you're crazy. And now some of my family are coming and saying, you were right. We were going to lose this freedom, or we were going to get boxed into this corner, or maybe I should look into some metals, or maybe I should question some of the news stories that I see from just the way they're presented. So I am Every single week, I'm having individuals tell me that some of their family members are telling them they don't think they're crazy anymore. So
That's awesome.
maybe that's a sign of encouragement.
Because I'm sure the people that follow your work and the people certainly that follow my work, I've heard from them. They're like, Greg, I try to talk to my family members. I've tried to talk to people, and they think I'm out of my mind. Like I said, it's this conditioning from the mainstream media, the subliminal messages. I mean, there's all kinds of literally things that they put in here to mess with your mind. They really do. It's mind control. It's mass mind control. And I tell people, turn it off. Don't even watch it. And if people just did one thing, people that are glued to the TV all day, if they stopped watching the news, let's say for a week, they would see things from a different perspective. After 2 weeks, they'll be a different person. It's really the truth. You got to turn it off. It's all designed to keep people divided, angry, stressed out. They got to get people into a certain state of mind so they could control it. That's really the truth. Make people afraid of something, one thing, and you can control their actions, their mind. You can make them do anything you want, jump through hoops. I don't care. It's literally a conditioning that is being done on a mass scale. And I think people, especially now, are starting to understand it. What's going on here with this global shutdown here with the virus with a very, very high survivability rate. People are like, hold on a minute, what's really going on? But again, it's the powers that be. They're so strong. But again, who knows? I still am optimistic. I think we're going through a bad time now. It'll probably get worse before it gets better. And I think some people, unfortunately, are looking forward to maybe a new kind of a nanny state coming down the pike here. They want to be taken care of from cradle to grave. They've been told that capitalism is a bad thing. It's a bad thing, So they've been brainwashed and conditioned. The children today, I mean, that's really kind of what they believe for the most part. And a lot of people are just lazy bastards. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to work. They want to sit back. They want to be taken care of. And unfortunately, we've seen that for quite a long time. Anyway, look. Let's get back because I know you got a lot of questions. So let's do this.
That's fine. You're making me think, though, that what you're saying is very true, that first you have people who don't recognize the signs of the times. You have those who do. They say, my gut is telling me, my history is telling me, my instincts are telling me. And then the interesting thing is that when the events start playing out to prove the truthfulness or the accuracy of the predictions that were made by those who were trusting their gut, the others say, well, after all, we want it that way because they've been deputized, basically emotionally or psychologically deputized into, we actually want to have our freedoms taken away. We want to be stripped of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment. Yeah, we'd be better off that way. And my wife and I sit there and we just, shake our heads and go, if you're not going to go by the Constitution as your document anymore, what are you going by? And who are the people that are making these decisions? So
you just hit the nail on the head so squarely. I mean, that's what people are being conditioned to do. They will willingly give up their freedom for more free things. Let's just say easy money, whatever it might be. They buy the nonsense again because they've been conditioned to, and they want it. They crave it after a little bit of time. I mean, there are people who would really like to live under a dictator. They don't care. They would like to have everything dictated to them. It's the truth. I mean, people don't want to be free for the most part. They think they do. People like you and me certainly do. But there are people out here that have a different version in their head of what freedom maybe should be or liberty maybe should be. And it's certainly not what we have been witnessing over the past few years, nor, I believe, what we're going into either.
And I think those handouts are enticing. You're right about that. But many people are firmly convinced that it's acting out of virtue and on principle that they want these things. They want to surrender these liberties to get that security, or they want this whatever. So there's way more layers. You mentioned before there's layers upon layers, and there's layers way beyond comfort and convenience that are being played. Okay, viewer's question. It kind of brings us right back to some of this, but Special K says, I read an interesting article from Catherine Austin Fitz. The reset is the, quote, end of currencies. This new system will not be a digital dollar, but a digital control system where there is a new virus like a computer. You need an update, injection. The system is a credit at the company store, so it's a control system to control everyone's behavior. It echoes some of the themes you've discussed on your daily updates, because you go way beyond market updates. You give market updates and context and philosophy around that. So what's your perspective on that claim that whatever this reset is going to be is not just a new currency?
Oh, no, absolutely not. It's about control. They want to know. I mean, if you want to just talk about why do they want a 100% digital currency? Because they can track every single transaction. Hey, Greg, can you lend me $5? I got to buy some milk or something. They're going to know about it. They're going to know about every single thing that we do. They want to track everything, where we are, what we're doing, when we're doing it, what we're buying, who we're talking to, everything. It's bizarre. Again, and people don't see this for what it is. It's all a control mechanism. They will do anything to acquire more control. Let's talk about a humongous event that just happened, the Capitol takeover here. No police to stop it. Just was no one smart enough to realize it was going to happen? This was allowed to happen. They, of course, invited people to go there, realizing there would be some kind of uproar. Everyone knew this was going to happen. I mean, the president pre-recorded a video. He knew it was going to happen. Let these people in there, let them do what they got to do. Then, condemn it. And then say, okay, this is what we need to do, more control. This is all about getting to a deeper, darker police state. I mean, now they're fear-mongering, and it's probably true, I guess. I don't even know what to make of it, is they're telling us, oh, yeah, there's going to be armed protests in every state in the nation for the inauguration. Mm-hmm. What are they going to do? Again, they're going to deploy the police in riot gear, the National Guard, control. All that the Capitol takeover managed to succeed in doing was making this darker, deeper police state. Nothing else came of it. And it's too bad that these people weren't smart enough to know it. I mean, what was going through their heads? They couldn't think. You have to understand, we're talking about psychology here. I studied psychology in school. I practiced medicine for 20 years. These people, they're not able to think. They react. Their reactive mind kicks in. They can't think. Their analytical mind gets shut off. They just go with the crowd, follow the sheep into the building. What are we going to do here? Now that we're in the Capitol, what are we trying to achieve? Let's see, the police are coming. They're going to kick us all out. We're going to get arrested. Nothing happened. But they weren't smart enough at the time to engage their brain. So we got this massive takeover here of the Capitol here, and it was all just engineered. They allowed it to happen, allow a problem to happen, wait for the reaction. Here's the solution. The solution is a deeper, darker police state. And this digital currency, I mean, look, the dollar right now, what do we got? 1.2 trillion actual dollars that exist on Earth. The rest of it is not on the elemental chart. It doesn't exist. It's not real. But again, this is also a move, there's no doubt about it, to a completely digital currency, but it's even bigger than that. We got the Fed right now funneling dollars around the world. Just look up dollar swaps. The Fed is dollarizing the entire world. They're funneling dollars everywhere. I told people this was happening before anybody else, that the Fed was doing this. And again, it's all a move here to introduce a new dollar, 100%. They already have it. They make it seem like, oh, we're working with the private sector so we can create a new digital dollar. No, nonsense. They've had this for years. They had to find a way to get it to work. Ironically, it just happens to miraculously come up during a global shutdown, kill the money velocity, stop the money from moving through the economy. Then they can print all they want, buy anything they possibly want without the risk of hyperinflation because there's no money velocity. You can't have hyperinflation without cash rapidly moving through an economy. So again, they're going to create a crisis here of the currency. That's what we really are waiting for. And it's going to happen. A crisis of the currency being debt market crisis. I mean, we're in a full-blown crisis right now. It should be obvious to anyone. The Fed continues to inflate and inflate and inflate. The Fed's balance sheet nearly doubled last year, nearly doubled in 2020. We're going to see that happen this year too, more than that. And this is what's on balance sheet too, what we're allowed to see. If we only knew what was on the Fed has two balance sheets. Most corporations have two balance sheets, a public balance sheet and the balance sheet that people are not allowed to see, the nefarious stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I think Enron is a great example of this here. They had their public balance sheet and then they had the one that they were doing all this other stuff going on here. So what really is happening here is a mechanism to bring about a crisis of debt, which I've been warning about, you too, for like a decade. It's coming, and the debt bubble is the monster of them all. It's such a threat to human survival. I don't think people even realize it. And this COVID-19 thing is going to look like a walk in the park through Central Park eating an ice cream cone when the debt crisis actually hits. And then they're going to say, hey, everyone, we have a bad crisis. Wait for the panic. Wait to see how the public reacts. Allow this to manifest itself. And then we have a solution for you. Because people don't want it. People are going to be very reluctant to accept a digital dollar, a digital wallet, or whatever it might be. They want to be able to go to the bank and hold that dollar and smell it and taste it. That's not going to happen. It's going away at one time here. A new system, a new paradigm, a new set of rules. I've been warning and warning and warning about it, and it's unfolding right in our face. And they got people playing right into it. I mean, like I said, go back to the Capitol. However, whatever you think about it, what was achieved? Zero. All it did do was allow them to enforce more control on all of us. So again, here we have an example where several thousand people got to dictate the rules for millions by making a monumental error. By doing this, they should have stormed the Federal Reserve. If they wanted to storm the right building, they should have stormed the Federal Reserve. But it wouldn't have made any difference either. They would have got squashed like bugs. Anyway.
One of the things you mentioned in there, what I want to pick up on, was the creation of these unprecedented amounts of fiat currency, but we don't have the money velocity, so it's not driving visible hyperinflation. That we had Jim Rickards on just end of last week. He said almost the same thing. He said that there's a big difference between generating currency versus generating inflation. We've had John Williams from shadowstats.com on here saying, hey, they're not admitting what the real rate of consumer price index is, that sort of thing, which is acknowledged. But Jim Rickards' analogy, he said it's like chopping a huge pile of firewood and just stacking up firewood. You're not actually creating a bonfire yet, but if there is a spark, you've generated a lot of fuel for that.
Well, of course, and to me, what's going to end up happening here, and this is how it's going to unfold exactly like I'm going to tell you right here. We understand that we are now existing in the monster bubble of all time, the debt bubble, the dollar being a unit of debt. Okay. The Federal Reserve is right now, they're buying it all. They're literally buying it all. So again, at one particular time, this is going to blow up. It's a bubble, and every bubble at one point corrects, no matter how much effort they put into keeping that bubble inflated. Keeping the debt bubble inflated is obviously hyperinflating the stock market, creating a multiple expansion scenario, again pushing the stock market into record high. The dollar has been suffering quite a lot lately. We did have a bounce. I think it's going to resume its downward spiral as more trillions of dollars are created out of nothing. But again, the meltdown in the debt market is the problem. When we have the meltdown in the debt market, it will have the reverse effect that what we've been witnessing for now since the last meltdown in 2008. Completely the opposite. And it's going to be an uncontrolled meltdown. So what people need to look out for is very simple. Look, I think the main thing that everyone wants to know is when. I get this question all the time, and I personally don't even care when. All I know is it's going to occur. The meltdown, the big one, is going to start in the debt market. It's not the stock market. I'm a market guy. I study all aspects of the market, and I can tell everyone here listening that if you're looking for a crash and looking at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you're looking in the wrong spot. You got to watch the debt market, more specifically the 10-year yield. What is the 10-year yield? We watched the 10-year yield now finally go over 1%. It had been under 1% for a very long period of time. And the Fed's been able to control it. The Fed's buying it all, able to keep the rate where it wants to. But again, there's going to be an exodus, a mass exodus, engineered. This is going to happen, but not by accident, okay? There's going to be a meltdown in the debt market, and rates are going to spike rapidly. The Fed is going to get in here and attempt to slow it. And they're going to buy everything by attempting to slow it, because the rates, the 10-year yield, for example, is going to spike very fast. Not like what we're seeing now, but I'm talking about like big time. Boom, 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 boom. People are going to go, oh my God, what's going on? And the effect of that is going to be massive amounts of pressure on the stock market. We'll reverse what we're seeing. So it's going to start in the debt market, melt down the debt market, yields are going to spike uncontrollably, massive pressure on the stock market. That's when cash starts to move. That's when we're going to start to see inflation hit. We need the cash to move first before we get this hyperinflationary environment. And then as this occurs, they're going to say, okay, everyone, we have a solution for you. There's the problem. Reaction, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? The prices are rising so rapidly, blah, blah, blah. Do something. Help us, help us. Here's the digital dollar, everyone. This is what we're going to do now. So again, and a lot of things that are linked to the debt, I mean, we're talking about the whole system runs off the current debt model. It's going to have to be restructured. I'm not exactly even sure how it's going to go. But it's going to be an epic moment here. But that's really what people need to look for. It's not, and people tell me all the time, Greg, when's the stock market going to crash? I don't even look at the stock market. When I get up every morning, of course, I'm concerned at what the stock futures are doing, but I look immediately over at the debt market. What's the debt market telling me? Let's say, for example, this morning stock futures were down a couple of 100 points. Okay, big freaking deal. What did Greg Mannarino do? I look at the 10-year yield, 1.13, and I sit back and I go, this is nothing. This is nothing. And what did we do today? The stock market was down 267 at a low, the Dow. We ended up down like 90 points. If you can understand the debt market, you can understand everything else. I know I'm running off at the mouth, but let me just say one more thing. It's important. What people need to realize here, the debt market is the largest part of the market by exponents. The stock market is an ant compared to the debt market. The entire cryptocurrency market cap is microscopic in relative compared to the debt market. Okay, so just to give people a perspective on that, understanding that every asset derives value from what is happening in the debt market makes everything a derivative of the debt market. The stock market derives value out of what's happening in the debt market. Henceforth, the stock market is a derivative. This is why I'm telling you, watch the debt market and you're going to have a really good idea as to what's going to happen in the stock market. It's an amazing dynamic. But once people get out of what's the Dow doing, what's the S&P 500 doing, who really cares? Okay, it's gonna waver around. But if we see the debt market right now doing what it's doing, the stock market's going to do one thing, and that is go higher. You got cash now that has left the debt market. You have a 10-year yield 1.13. Where's that cash going to go? It's going to look for some place to go. So when cash leaves the debt market, 10-year yield rises in a controlled fashion right now, and it looks for places to go, stock market. But when it rises in an uncontrolled fashion, it's going to get dumped. Everything is going to get dumped at the same time. Cash is going to start to move big time, and that's when we get the inflationary period, and it has the potential to be really incredible, and it's going to be rapid too. People must be ready for it because it's going to happen at a time that they choose. We have no say so in anything anymore, government and anything. It's all them. It's all by design. The shadow government is the central banks. They dictate the rules. They buy our politicians. They're all paid off. We just found out that all these big corporations, including JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, are now no longer going to be contributing to certain members of Congress. Did people realize that they're being bought by the banks and what we say doesn't matter? No. Most people had no idea, probably prior to hearing this. If they just looked it up for themselves, they would realize that I'm telling the truth, that our politicians are bought and paid for. This is not a government of the people, by the people, for the people. We now have what is the definition of fascism, a merger of corporations and a new American government, a new world order, That's what we have. So people better get hip to it. They better get hip to it. And things are going to change very rapidly. They're changing right now. Open your eyes, everyone. Is Greg Mannarino wrong? You'd probably have to say, he's got a point. Sorry.
On that point, I think we should mention that our ability to be here having this conversation on this platform is also at the graces of those powers that be. So, folks, we've started uploading our new videos to Brighteon and to Rumble. So if you don't find us here, look for us on Brighteon and Rumble. We'll include the links in the description of this video. That's something that a lot of independent platforms have had to look to as alternative ways of making sure that their voice can be got out there. We don't know what the rules are going to be next week, next month. We just don't know.
We don't know, but just expect the unexpected. That's all I have to say to people. Don't just think things are going to progress in a linear fashion. Things you might say, okay, you know what? Things are not so bad now, and they might not be so bad in a month or two. But the fact of the matter is, it can go like this, and all of a sudden, boom, right in another direction. And that's what they do. They want to take you by surprise. They want to shock people. Okay, they want that shock and awe factor in everything that they do. And I think we're going to get more of it moving forward here, unfortunately. Look, we're seeing some crazy stuff going on here, but stuff that you and me and other guys too outlined would happen. We had no idea the exact mechanism, how it would work, but we all foresaw this. We all understood that we would see what we're seeing now. And again, you must do the same thing as me. You look at it and you go, whoa, this is stuff I was talking about, let's say 3-4 years ago, or even longer than that. I mean, you've been around a long time, right? I've been around for like a decade. Mm-hmm. It's crazy stuff. It really is. And I hope people are at least now opening their eyes to what's going on and have a picture in their head of how it will play out. Because it's going to be, like I said, crisis of the debt. The crisis, we're in a full-blown debt crisis right now. How do we know that? Because the Fed's in here buying it all. Printed. We heard from the Fed again. They're prepared to buy even more. But no one bats an eye. No one says, they're going to buy more. How are they going to do that? Where are they getting the cash from? Do they have it all stashed somewhere? Or does somebody go click, 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 and adds digits to a screen? And just all of a sudden, poof, it's there. And they can buy anything they want. Another thing that people don't understand, and I'll stop now after this, is the creation of the Federal Reserve. They had one goal when they started in 1913. That was one day to become the lender and buyer of last resort, to own it all. You know, when people last year, the year before that, was saying, oh, President Trump's getting the Fed to print all this money because we're going to end the Fed, I laughed at it. What they don't understand is every dollar that the Fed is printing right now or adding to a digital screen does not make them weaker. It makes them stronger. How you kill the Fed is by not making them print more money, like a lot of people said President Trump was doing. No. Or he's bankrupting the Fed by having them create more money. No, it's completely the opposite. If we would stop the Fed from adding a single digit to a screen, even one click, they die immediately. They die because the system is debt-based. The debt-based economic model demands cash be borrowed and borrowed and borrowed and borrowed. How you kill it is to reverse that. So all these imbeciles, frankly, who are saying, oh, no, Trump is God and he's trying to bankrupt the Fed, we're going to end it. I would go, are you blind? Do you know what you're even talking about? Do you have any conception? And of course, I got hit for it and ridiculed, but they have no idea how it works. People don't understand that they have a debt-based economic model. This is all debt-based. The more debt we have, the stronger the central banks become. Why is the Fed printing all this cash? Why is the Fed funneling dollars around the world? Why? Because this is how they gain power. And they are so powerful right now. The Federal Reserve right now today is the most powerful organization in the world. There's nothing that even comes close. And they have the United States military as their enforcement arm. What happens to any, aberrant leader from another country who decides to maybe circumvent the dollar? They get hanged, they get shot. This is the Fed. The Fed is also the institution that shut down the global economy. This had nothing to do with China. You remember all that? President Trump? China. It wasn't China. How did this help China? This was the Fed. The Federal Reserve, the central banks did this, and they were the ones that shut down the global economy. They're the ones that are benefiting from this. I don't understand it. Look who benefits. Was it China, duh? No, it's the Fed. And it's the rest of these central banks. You can't make this stuff up. If people really understood what I just told them, they probably had an epiphany, but that's the truth. This is how it's been working. And this is leading us down a very, very dangerous, horrid rat hole. And that we're all going to have to answer for. And we're answering for it right now. It's crazy. Sorry.
That's all right. No, people want to know in the face of all this what they can do to take care of themselves. We want to save our republic if it's savable. We certainly want to protect our families, We want to have a future for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren. One of the things that you just talked about is what the central banks are doing. But another thing you've said all along is become your own central bank. We have a question from SRCS Consulting who says, please define become your own central bank.
For me, since day one, it's been very simple. That means to bet against the debt bubble. And you do that by holding an anti-debt unit, something that you own, something that's yours, that has no counterparty risk. And that would be, to me, again, like I've been saying this for the longest time, and I think it should make sense to people. Hold a hard asset, gold, silver, more specifically. Silver still remains my favorite asset of all time. It will never change. I think, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that physical silver is the most undervalued asset on the planet Earth. And again, we know who's rigging it. It's J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan is the number one rigger of precious metals in the world. Of course, other banks have been caught rigging precious metals. They pay fines. They do this. They get a slap on the hand. It's all the cost of business here. The other day, we watched gold and silver get decimated last week. I forgot what day it was. More paper silver was dumped onto the market that day than is mined in an entire year. How does that happen? Because it's not real. It's fake. It doesn't exist. They can do whatever they want to. And this is talking about derivatives here. How does it work when a hard asset derives value from the derivative? It's rigged that way so they can manipulate the price. And I say, good. Let them do this because, again, we're going to have a crisis of the debt, like I spoke about earlier. And when that crisis of the debt occurs, things that are priced in dollars and things that are massively suppressed deliberately, if we understand that major banks are deliberately suppressing the price of precious metals, and I mean, it's a fact. Everyone knows it. People can't even argue it. Everyone even knows who it is. The Commodities Exchange realizes they know who it is, but they won't act. They won't do anything because these people are also getting paid off. It's all about, again, their agenda. So again, bet against the debt. Becoming your own central bank is very simple. Hold hard assets. I also believe part of that is cryptocurrencies. I told people to start buying Bitcoin at $2,700. It hit $42,000 last week. If you are a member of my newsletter, I sent out a message to people. I said, you might want to consider pulling profits here, people. Bitcoin fell $10,000, more than that. Okay, in just a couple of days, and I mean, did I nail the top on it?
Yeah, your
I
mantra
had a feeling.
is the same as what you say on a daily basis, but here you said it in a very strategic time. You said it's never wrong to take a profit.
It's never wrong. I can't see what people don't understand about my work. Look, I'm getting frustrated here. I can't tell people I can't say, do this, do that. I can be held liable for that. But what I can say is, okay, everyone, I'm buying this. Okay, everyone, maybe you should pull profit here and put it as an opinion. That transforms everything. And I do not feel like getting, in legal trouble here. Yeah. I'm probably already in trouble anyway. They're going to take you and me down. We're going extinct at one point. You know that. But again, look, you got to own things. And the reason why, again, I love gold and I own platinum and palladium too. I love all of them. Silver still remains my favorite because you own it. It's in your hand. With regard to cryptocurrencies, you own them too, but there's a little bit of risk as well. You lose your key, however, wherever you're keeping it around. There's a problem with it. Tangible things, I mean, you can't, unless someone steals your gold or silver from you, or you lose it, which I doubt most people that have it, they kind of keep it in a secure place. At least I hope they do. But again, look, understanding what they want, what they're trying to do, and what they're trying to do is literally take over the world. We don't have a government anymore. And I said this earlier, and I'll say it again. If President Trump won 100% of the vote, he'd still lose. It would still be Biden, whether there was voter fraud or not. Okay, that's a debate that people are more than willing to have, but it doesn't matter. We have a shadow government. The government that they put in front of your eyes, the spokesperson, the head, and the entire Congress, it's theater. Once people understand that, they'll be a lot better off. It's a divide and conquer mechanism. Keep the public divided, make them hate each other. Don't let them realize that we're all part of the human race, that we are responsible for each other. Something I say all the time. People understand we're responsible for each other. Care about people, learn to love people that you've never met. Who cares if they're Democrats or Republicans? If they're stuck in that, then they're lost. Again, people are going to fall on extreme sides of that bell curve. Most Democrats and Republicans can get along if they're in the center of the bell curve. If they're at the either ends and they're extremists, like the people that took over the Capitol, and there's always going to be those kind of people. Unfortunately, those are the ones that are going to make us all suffer. Again, going back to that day, what did they achieve? Nothing. They achieved a deeper, darker police state for you and me. That's what they ended up doing, and I don't like it.
When you talk about learning the language of the financial market, you did direct us away from being distracted by the headline indices and instead look at where you think the directional center of gravity is going to come from, where the big shift is going to happen. J.D. Smith says, can you explain how we can learn the language of the financial markets? What resources should we use to learn the market language you speak of?
Well, it's multiple fold. Number one, step back and look at what's happening around you. What is the goal? What do they want to do? They want to inflate. I've been telling people for the longest time that the central banks are going to inflate and inflate and inflate. Along with inflating and inflating, stock market's going to inflate with it. The dollar is going to suffer. So there's your fundamental picture. Understanding what they're trying to achieve. What's the goal here? The goal of the central banks is to own it all. Own it all. And I mean that in the literal sense. Own it all. They own the United States of America. We are in debt beyond our eyeballs. All this debt has been issued by the central bank. They own us. They're owned. Now they're going to move now. Their next step is to take over the rest of the entire world by dollarizing it. The Federal Reserve has the power of the world's reserve currency at the time, which is the US dollar, quite obviously, and that gives them an enormous power. So the fundamental picture allows you where this is all going to go down the line, realizing that at one particular time it's going to end by their choice, when they are ready to pull the plug. This is a wealth transfer. That's all this is. You've got today barely no middle class. You got a lower class of people that the lower class is getting larger and larger and larger. The well-off and the rich are more well-off and rich than they have ever been. And I've been trying to warn people about this. Look, people like myself, I'm not going to lie. I'll tell you straight out. This is beautiful for me. This is a beautiful environment for me. I've added to my net worth substantially. Thank you, Donald Trump, because his rigging of the market, letting the Federal Reserve run amok, understanding the market, and what he was trying to do. Look at the stock market. It's going higher, 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 higher. Our economy is strong. We're all rich. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, but these came out of his mouth. I'm not sitting here bashing the man, but I'm telling you this is what he said. If you don't believe me, go look it up for yourself. The whole mechanism here was to do exactly what I said, create this two-tier society, a new feudal system. So understanding the bigger picture is a big part of it. Then you got technical analysis. What is the charts telling you? This is how it played out for me. Months and months and months ago, it looked to me initially like the market was going to elect Trump. I said it. I said, okay, don't worry about it. President Trump is going to get elected. Then I started looking at the charts and trying to say, hold on a minute. Something's going on here. I don't believe it's going to happen. I think the market is pricing in a Joe Biden win. And I started to see it louder and bigger and bigger. And I was like, okay. Then I started telling everyone, Joe Biden's going to win. Of course, I got attacked and ridiculed and this and that. I even told people that, and I did not want to see this. I did not want to see this in case people think I'm biased here. I did not want to see a sweep here in Georgia. I told people the market was pricing that in too. This is intuition. When you got someone like myself that studies this stuff around the clock, you pick up things, little subtle things that I think come with just experience. And it takes a really, really long time. How long? Years, decades. It takes I've been looking at charts, I don't know for how many years, 30? Maybe I'm looking at charts for 30 years. Even when I was practicing medicine, I was always interested in this stuff. But I really got super serious after 2008. In 2008, I lost my shirt. You see this shirt? I lost it. I got killed. I got killed in the market. I lost everything I worked for. I lost everything I worked for at that point. And that's what started me off. I got angry. I was like, what happened? How did I lose everything I worked for? My best friends who lost everything too, buying real estate at the top of the bubble, got just slaughtered. And I got mad about it. I was like, no, something is wrong here. This isn't right. And that's when I really became obsessed with this. I was like, no, 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 no. We need to understand what's happening here. Then I started to see what's going on with the TAR program and the Wall Street bailouts. It's like, oh, no, 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 no. This is much bigger. And what's coming down the pike is going to end up being much bigger. And that's what I've been trying to warn people about. The 2008 event this died. This whole financial system died in 2008. It's been on life support since that time. I've talked about this thousands of times. And that's all this is. This is life support by debt, by massively inflating the debt. So going back to reading the market, if we know they're going to inflate the debt, well, then you know where the market's going to go. Watch the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. As long as the Fed's balance sheet keeps inflating, the market's going to inflate with it. So you can go right to the Federal Reserve's website and look at their balance sheet. And you can see over the past X amount of months, it's gone parabolic. It's literally gone straight up. And as long as that mechanism keeps going, and not only does it have to keep on going, I think something else that people need to know is debt acquisition and debt issuance must increase exponentially. It can't just stay static like on a line. It's got to literally go up on a hockey stick. And that's right now we're in that hockey stick phase. So you have to realize this hockey stick phase can't really continue. I mean, it could continue for a while, and I think it's going to, until they're done. And I don't know when that's going to be, but we need to be aware, not afraid, but be aware that it's coming. This is why people like you and me have been saying, own gold, own silver, own platinum, own palladium, hard assets that you can hold in your hand, because at least from a financial standpoint, we can get ourselves in the right spot. Now, there's a whole other element to this, which is not my expertise, is if we end up in a worst case scenario, if they allow this to fully collapse and there's pandemonium in the street, which seems like there already is here, what can we do at that point here? I mean, there's always the potential that they could, I don't know, take down the grid, do other things to us here. I don't know. Allow people to go crazy in the street, then enforce a martial law. I don't know what's not coming. I just know that what I'm seeing right now, I don't like it. I think it has the potential to unfold much worse, and people just need to be aware of it. And I'm just about trying to capitalize on it from a financial standpoint. That's really what I'm all about. Of course, I go off on this and that during my video blog. I can't help myself. You know, it's like I don't, just like you, I don't script this. I literally sit down and I say, okay, Greg, click, and I start talking. And sometimes I go off the deep end. You've seen me probably go nuts.
I have.
Sometimes this stuff gets under my skin, and I just can't handle it. I'm just a human being like everybody else. And sometimes it gets to me. It really, really does. I'm sure it gets to you too. You know, you sit there and you go, oh, I can't be crazy. This is really happening, isn't it? Well, yeah, you know what? It is happening. But anyway, but that's really what it comes down to with understanding the language of the market. It is a language, and it's not an easy one to understand. This is why people like myself are hired by Wall Street banks, by hedge funds, because the experience of doing this makes you a valuable commodity. I've been offered jobs by, I don't know how many Wall Street banks, 5. I've turned them all down. I won't work for a Wall Street bank. I've said this. There's no amount of money, none, that a Wall Street bank can offer me to work for them. I don't care. I cannot be bought. I don't even need the money. So why would I even do that? I wouldn't work. I wouldn't do it. Hedge funds is a different story. I've actually thought about opening my own hedge fund. I've been invited to join hedge funds, and invariably with joining, I've ended up, after thinking about it, declined. I found out trying to start your own hedge fund is not easy. It is, you got so much. First of all, it takes an enormous amount of money, way more than I even thought it would ever take. And it's just, there's so much regulation and stuff. These are not really unregulated. Maybe it is when you get in there and you can do whatever you want, but they make you pay for it up front. So I can understand why it's so hard for people to start their own hedge fund. I wanted to. I kept thinking about it and talking about it. And I looked into it with a couple of friends of mine, tried to say, okay, how much money can we put together? And it wasn't even nearly enough. There's no way. Anyway, that's it.
A lot of what you talked about when you mentioned about owning real things, and then you started talking about some pretty dire potential scenarios where if the electric grid is taken down or the amount of unrest just builds to where it's everywhere, and then there's martial law imposed, that sort of thing. Just having precious metals, for example, in your possession is not going to be enough to necessarily sustain a proper future for your family and your community or whatever. Other thoughts, because you bring out about this theme out a lot about how we're responsible to help take care of each other and to not be divided by these divisive messages. Maybe if you could just spend a minute with us on that, because people need to understand that there's more to it than just accumulating something and think that that's going to be enough, because it's not.
Not going to be enough. I know that. I'm afraid of that too. Are you kidding me? All the wealth in the world ain't going to help you. In a worst case scenario, sure, you might have a nice stash somewhere. You might not have any debt or anything like that. But yeah, I've been telling people for the longest time that they got to come together. They got to stop letting this freak show keep us divided. Get together with like-minded people. There's your strength. Your strength is getting together with like-minded people that are on the same wavelength as you, people that you can connect to, you can build an affinity with. And realize that, hey, you know what? If things get really bad, I can rely on you, and you can rely on me. And try to don't make this a small group. Try to make this grow. I guarantee you that there are many avenues for people to do this. And unfortunately, yeah, sure, we can do this online, but we need to do it with people in our neighborhoods. We need to get together with people that, like, physical people that are there. I mean, you and I, we're physical people, but we're separated by wires. I'm talking about getting together with people that are close to you, that maybe you could get together with everybody. I mean, of course, go out there online, make your presence known, tell people what you're interested in, and share ideas. That's amazingly important. But at the same time, what I do, just as an example, I walk around my neighborhood, I walk my dogs or anything, I say hello to everybody. I try to talk to people. Hey, how you doing today? You doing hello? Just a simple hello or something. Like, just break that, separation thing. Create an avenue where people can communicate. Don't just be like these people that walk through life blinded. They have their iPod or whatever they're using these days, I don't know, and they don't focus on their environment at all or people around them. They don't even care. This is also part of the indoctrination. Why do we really think they're separating us all? What's really behind that? Why are they locking us up in our houses? Why can't we be next to people? Because they need to keep us divided by all mechanisms necessary. Create a situation where people are comfortable, I guess, to a certain degree, being isolated, not allowing them to come together. So it's so important, and more important, I think, than even trying to beat the market. For me, it's a game. I play the market because it's like a video game. I play, okay, and I want to be right. Look, I'm a competitive guy. So when I'm in the market and I'm in a position, I realize there's someone else on the other side. Now I want to see who's smarter. Really, you know what I mean? It's competition. Look, he wants my money, he or she, and I want their money. On every transaction has a buyer and a seller, a winner and a loser. And I just want to, I know I'm not going to win every single trade I'm in, but I want to win most of them. And, that's how that works. But again, that's nothing personal. It's just business. And that person on the opposite side of the trade, like, I lose trades from time to time. I lose trades from time to time. That's the way it is. I understand that's part of the game, and good for you. You got some of my money. Enjoy it, But again, going back to what we were saying, you've got to get together with people. We can't let them separate us here. They've created such a deep level of hatred and division in this nation by design. Let's look at the last few leaders here. Barack Obama, very divisive in my view. President Trump, unbelievably divisive. He was the president for the Republicans. That's all he was. If you were a Democrat and you were looking for help from the president, he couldn't care less about you. Division by design. Joe Biden, he's going to be just as bad, in my opinion. They got to get a charismatic figure in there, someone that has the power to divide. And that's the spokesperson that is chosen. Trump lost for a few reasons. Trump lost because Wall Street sucked him dry. Wall Street got everything they needed out of the man. Everything. He did not. Trump lost further because he didn't deliver a deal with China. If Trump would have delivered a deal with China, he would be getting elected. He would be inaugurated in a few days. The market only cares about which guy up there is going to make them the most money by being the spokesperson. Trump played the game very, very well, but with regard to boosting the stock market and getting people to convinced that, oh, look at the market, everything is great, we're booming, which was a complete falsehood. We never were booming. Money velocity at historic lows, near historic lows during his whole tenure. So, the fact that he couldn't pull it off, and I don't, did he try? I think he probably did, but China didn't want anything to do with it, and I think, for whatever reason, I don't know, it just didn't play out right for him. I believe if he would have got the deal with China, Wall Street would have chosen him instead of Biden. Maybe Biden will get us a deal with China, and that's all Wall Street wants. Wall Street wants a deal. They were promised a deal. Investors, people like myself, we wanted a deal, a fair deal, not just any deal, but a deal. We got nothing. Mexico never paid for the wall. That didn't work out too well. We didn't collect a dime in tariffs, although we told we were. That didn't work out too well. Well, I mean, it was also the lies too. They all lie. And that's what really, I voted for Trump the first time. I loved the man. Initially, I would have worn the Trump hat around my neighborhood, and I realized after a while, no, it's all a lie. And it's not just him. They all lie, and they lie to the people, and that bothers me. It really does. But and believe me, Biden's going to lie even worse. I'm convinced of it. That's the mechanism here. We lost our government. Unfortunately, we have a shadow government, which is the real government, which is the banks, the Federal Reserve, and unfortunately, that's the way it is. And people, like we spoke about earlier, they want this. Many people want this. They want to be taken care of. They don't believe in capitalism anymore. They don't believe in being competitive. They want to be worms. They want to be squashed and willingly give up. What do you want to take from me? You want to take my freedoms away? Well, okay, go ahead. I'm all for it. What are you going to give me for it? It's like an exchange. They're willing to do it. It drives me crazy, but unfortunately, it's the way it is.
Well, I should give us a chance both to tell our viewers how to get a hold of us in case they can't find us in our usual places anymore. I've mentioned people find us on Brighteon and Rumble. Also, go to Liberty and Finance. Go over in the left-hand side, put in your name and address, your email address. We'll get you on our mailing list. That way, in case we lose touch, you'll know where to find us. Greg, you've got a mailing list that just is growing leaps and bounds. Talk about things going like a hockey stick. How do people get connected in with your mailing list?
Just go to my website, traderschoice.net, or if you watch my video blogs, there's a newsletter there. It's free. You can subscribe to it. And I don't know where I'm going to go. I thought they took me down the other day real quick. My channel got hacked. I don't know if you heard. No. I couldn't get in. I couldn't get into my channel. I couldn't upload a video. And I was like, oh, my God, they shut me down. And I started to freak out. And I ended up, believe it or not, YouTube helped me. They actually, well, for obvious reasons, I think, they like me to be here. You too, I think, but they obviously generate revenue from us. But I was surprised that they were able to get me back in. So be very careful. My channel's gotten hacked several times over the years. One time I got all my videos erased. I think almost all of them. And then the second time I got hacked, I couldn't get in. I managed to fix it myself. But this time I got completely locked out. I really thought they shut me down.
Yeah, that's frightening. Well, we all are going to be traversing unknown territory over the next days, weeks, months, likely to be very eventful, likely to be volatile. We will be doing our very best, Greg and myself, to bring you guys the truth as we're able to find it, and to maybe look a little bit down the road with the help of some experience, in my case, some guests, to help us to look farther down the road, see what's coming so we can be aware and prepared.
No, Greg, you're a smart guy. That's one of the reasons why I do your show. I'm being honest with you. I don't do these too often anymore. Very rarely. I very rarely do interviews with anybody. And I like doing your show because I like your perspective. We definitely are on the same page in a lot of things. So you see things as clearly as I do, and that's important.
Well, I benefit from the expertise that guests like you can bring to help me see things. So we just appreciate you being here with us on Liberty and Finance.
Great to be here. Thank you. We'll do it again soon.
If you've decided that now is the right time for you to protect your family's financial future by acquiring physical precious metals, gold and silver, I'm delighted to let you know that I have now become a licensed dealer's representative for Miles Franklin, one of the oldest and most trusted names in bullion dealerships. and we can provide you with physical delivery to your personal possession or to professional vault storage or precious metals IRAs. Just email me at libertyandfinance@protonmail.com, and please include your name and phone number in your email to libertyandfinance@protonmail.com. We'll get right back with you and find out how to best meet your needs so that you can either begin or increase your acquisition of physical precious metals now and protect your family's future starting today.